everyone, and thanks for tuning into another episode of The Legacy. It's Kia, your favorite inspirationalist, and I have the pleasure of hosting this week's topic. And the topic is mental illness. So how about this? It was mental illness / mental wellness.
I think that's what she texted us.
It is. So that's why I got to kind of expand on why it's just mental illness. Because as I begin to do research, mental illness is such a huge conversation. I didn't want us to just go to from illness to wellness. It take a little bit of time, and that's what I hope we get to talk about tonight. So thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, I have with me...
Hey, it's Lexi, your expert in evolution.
And it's me, Jasmine.
Yeah.
What sound does crickets make?
Crickets.
Crickets.
Sean, again, make sure you put the crickets behind her name. We'll do that until she comes up with a tag. Is it a tagline? No,
Yeah.
It's not. Is it a tagline?
It's a tagline.
Okay, cool.
A tag.
So how are y'all? How are you mentally? How are you ladies mentally?
Hit.
I'm great.
Great. You great? You
Mentally.
good? All right,
Occasionally.
good. All right, because I'm going to need your whole mental being, spiritual being in this conversation. So, girl, did you know that Swiss Beats ex-wife Mashonda wrote a tell-all book?
Ooh. What's she telling all of?
She ain't telling all. We wish she was. We wish she was. But no, she actually, Mashonda, Swiss Beats ex-wife. So if you guys don't know the story, Swiss Beats was married before he and Alicia Keys got together. And the rumor was that him and Alicia Keys was messing around while he was married to Mashonda. So I don't know if that's true. I don't live in their house. But there was a lot of back and forth, bashing Alicia on Mashonda's side. And him and Mashonda had a baby together and they were married. So that's the story. So Mashonda has been working.
Him and Mashonda had a baby together?
Him and Mashonda had a baby together. So Swiss Beats and his wife Mashonda had a son.
Got it.
And he was apparently, or what they say, the rumor is messing with Alicia Keys. But it sounds like there's some non-truth to that. She hasn't really disclosed it, nor has Swiss Beats or Alicia Keys, at least publicly, to my knowledge. But anyway, so I just want to give you guys some information about the book, because Lexi, you talked about this, and the book is called Blending. And the book is an inspiring guide to creating a happy and healthy blended family. So I saw her on The Breakfast Club, and it's really dope to hear the story of how their family has evolved, not just from co-parenting, dropping the kids off, but to actually going on vacations together, spending time at each other's house.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And from co-parenting to blending, like they really, really are a blended family. Just to hear the story was really surreal. So if anyone is challenged in that area of that co-parenting and trying to take it to another level, definitely get Mashonda's book. It's not, again, a tell-all book. She's not spilling any tea. She's not spilling no tea. Like, she is, I'm like, what retreat did you go to?
Yes.
What spiritual mentor do you have?
That allowed you to be
Because
blended.
she
We
is
taking
just
them on a trip with
she like so woke. Like her and Alicia sound like they're just like, I'm like, are y'all sleeping together? Y'all
They're
girlfriends?
taking trips together.
Especially the way it happened. I think that's why people are like, too. Like, it's one thing if we divorce.
I still wanted to be mad.
Right.
She not mad
like,
no more.
No, we can't be mad if she not mad.
No, she transformed that anger.
She said, I need my peace.
And she got it. And it's a testament to show where we are. We don't have to stay there if it's in pain and there's dysfunction in the beginning. We don't have to stay there.
Correct.
And it sounds like they healed together. And she brought some other people in. I think Will Smith's wife or ex-wife.
Ex-wife. Yeah.
She has a part in, and a couple other people have a few pieces, or they, contributed to helping her write the book. And I think Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys. Yeah, so it's called Blending.
I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah,
that's a good book. We need to do a book club.
Book club.
We're
going to start one.
I don't know if I would read that one, but I think it's a good recommendation.
We'll definitely think of some books to think of.
You think you would blend?
I mean, I'm not blending.
I ain't even want to blend.
I think blending is interesting.
Well, I was a product of some blending. Well, not a product, I should say, but my childhood growing up was like, that's why I think for me, it's tough for me not to get, I get it conceptually, but it's tough for me not to understand why people can't blend. Because growing up, my dad, and my mom were both married prior to marrying each other. Both came with kids. And I remember, growing up, even like I brought somebody home with me, a boyfriend home with me from college, from Cal. And I found another black person. Okay. And we were going to a bowling party, and I was introducing him to people, and I'm like, hey, you know, this is my Aunt Gwen. And he's like, oh, is this your mom's sister? And I'm like, no, that's my dad's ex-wife. And then this is my, and he was like, wait, y'all bowling? Is she trying to hit your mom with the ball? No.
It's almost like how? It's unfathomable. Even hearing the story, it was like she was forcing me to understand it because it was so pure and real, but it was still a wrestle inside of me. Like, how is this even possible? But again, that's why you need to get the book. Yep. If this is something that
you're interested in blending your family, let's blend these families.
It's a real thing.
Stop the drama and just blend.
It's a real thing. But I got another girl, did you know, which is not as exciting as that one. But did you know that 7% of the population had at least one major depressive episode in the past year?
I can believe
that.
Yep. They're saying an estimated 16 million American adults. So that's 7% of the population.
Think about the famous people that we heard about that took their own lives within the last 6 to 8 months.
Right. Yeah. But what's even to go deeper into that, to African Americans, it says, and this information I got from the National Alliance on Mental Health, because before I even dive into it, just to let you guys know, I'm not sure when you'll be listening to this, but this month we do celebrate mental illness, mental wellness, mental health. Mm-hmm. So there are some important dates I will share with you guys at the end. So it's important that we bring awareness and we talk about mental illness, especially in the African American community.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that we can heal from this. So this is just the start of a conversation. But one of the figures that they gave is African Americans are 20% more likely to experience serious mental health problems than the general population. And some of the common mental disorders among African Americans is major depression, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, suicide, post-traumatic stress disorder.
I can believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But again, we come from that culture where getting help and talking to people is frowned upon. Right. It's almost considered that's a Caucasian thing and not just a human race thing. Like, you need to talk to someone if you're going through something. So I definitely can believe that that's true.
Yeah. Yep. Why do you think we're like that? That we won't go and get physician help, right? We'll talk to our girlfriends, we'll talk to our family, or some of us will just suffer in silence.
Yeah, some people don't even do that.
So, I mean, are there barriers? Do you think there's barriers, or is it a pride thing, a shame thing, that we don't go and get the help that we need?
It's like all of the above.
Correct.
It's a pride thing. It's a what happens in your house stays in your house thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a why would I need to do this? Let me just pray thing.
Just pray on it.
What do you mean you're going to counseling? It's Jesus. But interestingly enough, I just came from tonight, actually a grief counseling session. And I do have a history of depression. I went through postpartum depression when I was pregnant. I went through, and people laugh when I say it, but it was real. I went through pre and postpartum depression.
Okay.
I have not tried to commit suicide, but I've had suicidal thoughts. I can remember experiencing, depression at a very young age. Mm-hmm. So you guys know, like, even after the last event that we did, during the last event, I should say, that we did, there was a lot of transparency that happened.
Right.
And so I think my first experience with depression was when I was like 10 years old, after the rape. Mm-hmm. And I remember my mom taking me to counseling. And so I went, for a couple of weeks, I think I remember, and then we stopped.
Okay.
So it must have been something like you had to do it, like it's part of something to do.
Yeah.
But never kept doing it.
Right.
So tonight, fast forward to tonight, I go for grief counseling. Mom passed away August 1st. And I'm here, and I go to this place because I must have miscalculated the route, as Waze would say. But I end up all the way like out in Westminster, and so I go to this grief counseling session, and I walk in the door, and everybody looks like the other side of the palm of my hand. They're all Caucasian.
So is this a group session?
It was a group session.
Okay.
And so I'm like, immediately I'm like, oh, here we go. But they were really welcoming. But then I found myself when I was first sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, they are so whiny. Like they all crying and this. And I'm like, why don't they just buck
This is interesting.
Like, yo, why are you crying in front of all of these like,
people? Really? This is interesting.
Are you serious? So now, and here's the crazy part. I went with the intention
to cry
on being transparent,
right? To share, to whine.
And I got there, and this one dude just kept. I'm so sorry. I really hope you don't listen. Everybody was so nice.
Oh God!
But it was like an AA meeting. It was like, "Hi, my name is Lexi, and my mom died." There was even people that were depressed because their parents had died 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
I can believe it.
And that shows that we have to develop more empathy too.
Yes.
I think we all do.
But I can believe it
right?
because I've experienced those situations.
So Lexi just told her mental illness story.
I've dealt with depression at a young age. Had suicidal thoughts, but never thought, physically gone through with anything. I've dealt with postpartum, but prior to, but mine's came from a place of, I can't handle baby, my mom's not here, this don't make no sense. That's depressing for me to go through this emotional experience and this pregnancy alone. And then after I had post a little bit, and then I have anxiety, and my anxiety is coming in weird things. Like even now, as you can see, I'm starting to scratch, and I have no reason as to why I'm scratching. But I'm suffering from anxiety. And I was like, I needed to go to counseling, and I needed to talk to someone again because I had been through some, different types of abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, things like that. But I haven't really dealt with it. It was something I just kind of kept to myself, and I just kind of dealt with it. I was self-diagnosing and taking care of myself.
And suffering, right?
And suffering all at the same time. So I definitely go through some anxiety, some tongue twitches and stuff that I was kind of sharing with Kia earlier today, that I just can sometimes just have this twitch and things with my tongue. And I don't know if it's just coming when I'm worried and thinking about things, or it's just a lot of things that I'm thinking about and it'll start happening. And I was like, I got to Google it. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
And come to find out it was a form of anxiety. Yep. So I had went to counseling just kind of one time again, and even just kind of talking to her, she's just there. It's just your first session, and she's just there to try to soak up as much as which she can figure out what's going on with you. And I laid everything out of everything that I could possibly tell her, but it was emotionally draining for me. Like I felt like I was in there crying. Coming into a group session like you, I probably would have been like, why? And I don't know if it's because we have this strong black woman thing that is like, you in front of all these people, you doing all this crying and acting all this.
Right.
Like, you gotta put your growing pants on.
That's the interesting part too that we have to own, because that will cause other people to not share their story.
Absolutely.
Because, and a lot of times we carry it. We've been carrying it for so long that now 25 years later, I'm finally dealing with it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I'm finally talking about it. I just been suffering in silence. So some of the disorders that I thought was just interesting. I mean, they talked about anxiety, mental health illnesses, anxiety, autism, bipolar disorder. I have a family member that has that. Borderline personality disorder, depression, dissociative disorder, schizophrenia. And for my mental illness story, my mom was schizophrenic. And even touching on a topic, it was like, let me do a history report. Because again, I was listening to something and it says a lot of times African Americans were predisposed to these mental illnesses. So it may not even be something that we, brought upon ourselves. It could be something from your mom or your dad. So as a child, even being raised by my grandmother, I remember my mom would be in a hospital for 2 weeks at a time. I remember the hallucinations that she would have. Did you see this person? Did you talk to that person? Who's this person? I remember her medication being, modified, because 1 minute she would be sleeping too much. And a lot of times I remember my mom would always sleep, but the medication would kind of like have her zoned out.
Yeah.
So as a child, I'm seeing this woman who's suffering from mental illness. Again, I didn't know what it was. I just called it she was weak. And then I have my grandmother who's really, really strong, who at least I perceive her to be, and she may even be pretending to be. So my thing was to grow up and to be strong, right?
Yep.
We never talked about mental